Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome to the Monday Power Hour here on this Monday, November the 25th, 2024. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We will be taking your questions, your comments, your calls, 803-500-1485. That's 803-500-1485. It is rivalry week. We got a lot to get into, a lot to discuss. Week 13 is in the books, and this is the final week of the regular season. It's crazy, crazy. Time flies when you're having fun, but that is where we are. Again, we got a jam-packed weekend of college football upcoming and a lot to break down from the weekend that was, man. A lot to decompress, a lot to dissect, a lot to get into. Again, I appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. A little bit later today than normal. Typically, we're in that noon to 1 Eastern time slot. It was a long weekend in Austin, Texas. It was a long travel weekend in Austin. We'll get there in a second, but a great weekend nonetheless. Again, we'll talk about that more in just a sec. But with the schedule today, the way things shook out, felt like we were better off taking it in the 5 to 6 or 4 to 5 Central Time hour. So again, same show. We're here taking your questions, your comments, and your calls. Like I mentioned, 803-500-1485. That is 803-500-1485. Guys, hey, this is the last one, right? We only do this once every week, but Monday Power Hour, this hour is going to be your chance, too, to call in. You want to talk some trash, talk some smack. It's already starting to happen on the timeline. It's happening amongst players. We got people talking junk, man. And I'll tell you this, I love it. This is, dare I say, my favorite week of the college football season. This is one of my favorite weeks as a sports fan in general. Rivalry week's incredible. Now, I don't want to say it sucks, but it's a lot more stressful, right? If you're just fully just invested in one team, one side. And so, like, maybe some of the trash talk, you don't like it as much because you're like, God, I wish our guys would just be quiet and don't give any bulletin board material, whatever. As someone that, for example, as you all know by now, we are going to College Station this weekend for the Lone Star Showdown. As somebody who's just going to that game as an observer and just wants to see a classic, I love it. Bring on the trash talk. I want to see these guys going back and forth, talking back and forth to each other. I'd love nothing more. So I love the trash talk. We love the banter here. Obviously, you guys know that. We love the back and forth. I want to see more of that all week long, and I think we are going to get that. Again, guys, I think the rivalry week banter, the rivalry week back and forth, it is just beginning. It is just beginning. It's only going to heat up. Of course, Thanksgiving week. Happy early Thanksgiving to each and every single one of you. Of course, like I mentioned, we will not talk again on these airways specifically. We'll have content all week long, but won't talk here again throughout this week. So a happy early Thanksgiving to all of you out there. Happy early Thanksgiving, and really excited to be here, man. I'm thankful for each and every single one of you, by the way. Grateful to be here, man. So, again, 803-500-1485. We're going to open up those phone lines in just a second. But I do want to start with our trip over the weekend. Austin, Texas. Man, I mean, holy smokes. What a weekend it was. Austin was incredible. I don't even know where to begin really here. Had a blast. You guys probably saw it. It was well documented. We had a great time in Austin. You know, I had high hopes for Austin, Texas in regards to just how much fun it would be. It honestly exceeded even my highest expectations. From the standpoint of the city's incredible. The city of Austin, that might be the best city in the SEC. And I know some of you listen. I've seen the comments. People are like, all this guy does is he goes to places, and then on Monday every week he comes on and says, that's the best place he's been in the SEC. That's the best place he's been. Listen, last week I said that Athens, Georgia is the best college town in the conference. I stand by that, 110%. Austin's not a college town. That's honestly one of the reasons I really like it. It's not a college town. It is a legitimate city. And so from a city standpoint, I think Austin's the best city in the conference. I really do. From a pure city standpoint. And again, not everybody's going to love the city. I love the city. I like the city. I went to Austin and ironically enough was like, I could live in this place. Like, Austin's a blast. And it's not like, you know, you're not overwhelmed by UT stuff. I said UT. You're not overwhelmed by Texas stuff. You're not overwhelmed with Longhorn stuff, right? You're not, it doesn't feel like, again, where you're in a college town and it's all like the city revolves around the university, which again, was a part of it that I really, really liked and enjoyed. The part of the trip I really wanted to highlight, though, was this. And this is the most important part in my mind. And I mentioned it last week, but now here in retrospect, we've had a lot of people be really, really good to us over these last few months. I mean, the SEC Unfiltered Tour, it wouldn't be what it's been without all the great people along the way that have gone out of their way to show me a good time and show me around and give me suggestions and point me in the right directions, right? Like it wouldn't have. The people are what have made the tour so special. With all that being said, the level of hospitality in which I felt before the trip even started, that was the thing that stood out to me more than anything. And I think what makes it so cool and so special is, listen, Texas is Texas. Texas doesn't need me to come visit. They don't need us to talk about them or push the brand or anything of the sort, right? So you never know what the reception's going to be. You never know how you're going to be embraced. You know, Texas very well could have been, hey, cool, you're coming, great. But, you know, we're Texas. We're not, you know, we don't need to go out of our way to show you a good time. And that was the thing, guys, that stood out that I left so impressed with. And again, this started like a week before we ever hit the road and went on this trip. So many people there in Austin, Texas, so many Longhorns went out of their way to make sure that we had a great time. Whether it was suggestions on where to eat, where to go out, what to do, what to see, helping us get on the field before the game on Friday even, touring us around the campus, you know, giving us lodging, giving us tickets, whatever it might be. So many people went out of their way to make sure that I had a great time. And for that, I can't say thank you enough. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for all those that stepped up and, you know, really welcomed us with open arms, in the way that we were embraced and the level of support and love. And again, outpouring of people reaching out via email, DM, text, whatever it might be, in person, obviously. Like it was, I find myself again, just so grateful and thankful for everyone that went out of their way to make sure we had a blast. Because I did. It was incredible. I mean, it was awesome. I have nothing but great things to say about Austin, Texas. Nothing but great things to say about the Horns. The people were awesome, man. The people were incredible. So thank you again, man. The level of hospitality I felt from the Texas folks, that was unlike anything I felt all season long. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, or because it's been great throughout the tour. But the level of hospitality I felt from Texas folks was unlike anything I felt throughout the entire tour. And again, I just can't say thank you enough to all the great people that literally went out of their way to make sure I had a great time. You know, I was told before I went, there's Southern hospitality, but then they call it Texas hospitality. And I mean, Texas hospitality is a real thing. The people were great to me. I have nothing but great things, like I said, to say about the people of Austin, the great Longhorns that I met, interacted with, whether it be on social media, in person, what have you. So Texas, thank you so much. I cannot wait to get back to Austin. Austin will forever have a piece of my heart. Really, truly. It was a blast. And again, it's the people that make the difference. It's the people that made that trip so special. So I just wanted to make sure I started off, man, said thank you. You know, we use these Mondays a lot. To kind of decompress a little bit and kind of, you know, reflect on the weekend and what it was and you know, how much fun it was. And I mean, it felt necessary, obviously, to, you know, just say thank you. Just say thank you, because they were incredible. I mean, they were absolutely incredible. So, Matt Beard, what's going on, man? He says, go Tigers. What's up? Appreciate you tuning in. Terminator 98. Again, we'll open up the phone lines here in a second. We'll get into a couple of your comments here. Chris, can the Gamecocks make it? Listen, I think South Carolina's got a really fair argument at this point. I mean, it's with all the madness and chaos, and maybe there needs to be a couple more dominoes fall. I mean, I think the biggest thing you run into is head to head. There's a few teams you're trying to get in over that it's, you know, how important would head to head be is my question. How important is head to head? So, Original Drake, Alabama, they can beat anyone, but they are out. That loss, they don't belong. Hard to argue otherwise. Yeah, listen, it's hard to argue otherwise. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I absolutely don't think you're wrong. So, James Cox, who do you got in the South Carolina Clemson game? Great question. So we're actually dropping the preview for that game tomorrow. We have not recorded it. I will tell you right now, though, here on this Monday, unless something changes in my mind over the next 24 hours, I am leaning going South Carolina in this football game. I know that Clemson's favored. I know the game's at home. I think it being a noon Eastern kick is, I think it is very beneficial to South Carolina when it comes to, working and dealing in that environment, and Lenora Sellers and that offense dealing in that environment. You look at the matchup in the trenches. I think South Carolina's front seven is going to cause some disruption. And so, I'm leaning South Carolina right now. I will have an official score locked in tomorrow. When we drop the preview, but I am definitely leaning South Carolina at this point. So I am leaning South Carolina. Let's see. Again, guys, 803-500-1485. Let's go ahead and open up the phone lines here. I do want to hear from you all. Phone lines are now open. You can call that number, text that number, whatever you like, and we will get you on the air. 803-500-1485. Again, thank you so much to all the great Texas folks, man. DKR was a blast. I love DKR. I thought it was awesome. Beautiful stadium. Really underrated. I think a really underrated gym. Now, listen, did I get the loudest experience at DKR? It was Kentucky, right? It was Kentucky. So it wasn't the loudest venue I've been in all year, but you got to be fair, right? Like, it's not like going to the Georgia game at that place. Kentucky was a little bit different, but it did get loud at times. It did get very loud. So, again, had a blast. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, the Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie Davis, what's going on, man? You're on the air.
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay? My nephew's downstairs watching a movie.
Yeah, I got you, man. What's going on?
First of all, it is Clemson week, and I do not give a crap. It's Clemsucks week, okay? I wouldn't piss on Dabo Swinney's head if his hair was on fire. I would not. I don't care. It's Clemson week. I don't care.
I hear you, man. No, listen, it's that time. It's that time. So,
because I am telling you, if I was a betting man, right? If I was a betting man, okay, which I'm not, to an extent, but I don't think Clemson will be able to handle our front four on the defensive side of the ball because they have not played a defensive line worth a darn all season.
Yeah, I think South Carolina can win that battle in the trenches. I do. Yeah, I think that's where that is where the matchup really starts in that game. If Clemson can't handle South Carolina up front, I think it's going to be a very, very long afternoon with the Tigers. So, yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a fun one. I think the way South Carolina's playing, they're red hot right now. I think you got to feel pretty good going in. So,
yeah.
But I'll tell you this, I bet the under in the game. I think both defenses are going to. I think it's going to be a lower scoring defensive battle. I do.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, but like I said, I lean South Carolina. I really do. I lean South Carolina.
But and honestly, with the way I am very shocked. Okay, at the beginning of the year, I did not know how to feel about Lenora Sellers at the beginning of the year. Okay, but let me tell you something. Okay. That kid is at the moment playing really good football right now. Okay. He's not trying to overdo it. He's not trying to make big plays right from the get-go. He's taking what he's given and he's getting yardage when he can get it and getting out of bounds. He is not trying to overdo it. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think he's played. He's played incredibly well. I don't know if there's a player that's improved more from week 1 to week 13 than Lenora Sellers. Has improved more than he has. So yeah, listen, and I think that his running ability, I think if you're Clemson, the key is you got to stop the running ability. You got to keep Lenora Sellers in the pocket. That's the big key there. So, but again,
and that's very difficult to do.
Yeah, I was going to say it's much easier said than done. So, it's much easier said than done.
Yeah, and seeing as Thanksgiving is Thursday, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Okay. And also, since Thanksgiving is Thursday, and I usually give my score prediction to you on Thursday, I'm gonna give it to you on either Wednesday or Friday. I'll message it to you on Facebook.
I love it, man. I look forward to that. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a fun one. Again, rivalry weekend, man. You gotta love it. So I'm there's certainly a part of me that wishes I could be in two places at once. I'm very, very excited to get to College Station. I'm very excited to get to Kyle Field. That's game of the year kind of vibes. But South Carolina Clemson is going to be a great game. It is going to be a great game.
Yeah.
So,
but that's all I got. And you have a great rest of your week, and a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Robbie, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well, man. I appreciate you calling in. It's always a pleasure.
You're welcome, buddy. And as always, leave dumb stuff to me.
Will do, man. Will do. Appreciate you, Robbie. We'll talk soon, brother.
For sure. All right. Bye-bye.
Great stuff, Robbie Davis. It wouldn't be a call-in show without Robbie Davis making his presence felt. And if you can't tell, Robbie Davis hates the Clemson Tigers. Let's get to these questions. Joa Service. Chris, you may have answered this already. Are you not playing on the TSU app? So, Joa, on Mondays, we go on early. So, on Mondays, we are on from 1 to 2 Central, because Chip and Zay are covering Steve Sarkisian's media availability. So we go on 1 to 2 on Mondays. The rest of the week, or at least Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, because there's no shows Thursday, Friday, we will be in our normal 3 to 4 Central slot.
Call from
Justin.
Here we go. What's going on, man? You're on the air.
What's going on, Chris?
Dude, just hanging out, man. What's
Hey,
up?
brother. Hey, brother. First off, appreciate the T-shirt 2 years ago. Beat my ball all the way. Appreciate that. Rock it to the face.
Appreciate that.
Big play here. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I think the D-line is going to hold up, but I really want to put some emphasis on our linebackers. I don't think people give enough love to D-Knight, to Debo, to Bam. These linebackers wreak havoc. And I'll be honest with you, man. Nick, as much field as he covers, we all know his position, but if he's not in there with the linebackers almost every play, I'm telling you guys, we saw Nick 2 years ago go down to Clemson, tearing him up. You're going to see the same thing. I think you're going to see a little more one-on-one. We're going to bring Nick forward because we know that they're run heavy, and we also know that the quarterback likes to try to get out the box. But that's where I think our linebackers are going to eat them up. And we got a lot of full depth rotation there, and I think they're going to get a heavy dose of that.
And I think to your point too, man, the linebackers for South Carolina are as good as they've been in quite a long time. I always looked at that position group for South Carolina for whatever reason. It just you're just kind of average there. They have been really, really good. I think that's one of the biggest differences in what's made that front seven so special, so difficult to deal with. So yeah, I think to your point, you do make a great point about the linebacker spot. So I think they could give Klubnik and Clemson offense a lot of problems. I think it's going to come down to stopping the run first and foremost. But, yeah, I mean, again, it's one of the biggest reasons I lean South Carolina, and probably many of us are going to lean South Carolina. Is they got one of the best front sevens in the country. You know, it's always going to give you a really good chance to win. So, I do lean the Gamecocks, and that front seven's a huge reason why.
I do anticipate them probably using Carter a lot to spy Norris. And I also think that they're going to chip our edge rushers a lot. I think they're going to bring people in to chip them. And that's why I think it's going to come down to the linebackers getting in. Our front four are going to do what they do. But I think our linebackers getting in is a big deal. One question for you, though. Do we know when Tonka, if he will be able to get the club off of his hand or not?
I do not know. I'll tell you this. I don't know at the moment. We will know later this week because we're actually working on right now getting our good buddy Chris Marler on the airwaves, who does Locked on Gamecocks, a little bit later in the week to talk Carolina Clemson. So I would imagine Chris has probably got a pretty good idea of the latest, obviously in a few days, and we get like the latest injury report, stuff like that. But I do not know 100%, but he's done pretty damn well with a club on his hand too. So I mean, they've been ferocious no matter what. But yeah, we're going to break that one down as in depth as any this week. And again, I love South Carolina's D line against that Clemson offensive front, and I think that's probably going to be what decides the game for both sides, is just which offensive line can hold up better against the opposing defensive front. That's a lot of that game is going to come down to that.
I'm gonna leave one last thing here. I think Campbell and what's his name, number 8,
Nick Harbor.
What's his name? Nick Harbor are coming to their own, especially Campbell. I hate to take away from both. Both are really coming to their own. It gives us a lot of size at receiver now. Nick with speed, but there's something about Campbell, and I think everybody sees it these last couple of games. He's just, I don't know if it's like he's playing to the end all of a sudden, he's getting his reps, he's getting his chance. This guy looks like, he kind of just reminds you of maybe like a Corey Gurley or a Jared Cook. I mean, I know he's a wide receiver, but I mean, he just has that size. He has that extra push. Maybe a Brian Edwards. All of a sudden, we're seeing this guy emerge in like 3 games. And he's amazing. And I think that's also something Clemson's going to not have to worry about. I mean, they're worried about Simon. Hey, what's Simon going to do? Well, now you got to worry about this guy too.
Yeah, I mean, I think too you're seeing, because of Lenoris Sellers' escapability and being able to improvise, I think that's helping out the receivers a lot as well. But yeah, but to your point, some guys have come along. Some guys have, I think Nick Harbor especially, that's the big one. That's the big one we all been kind of waiting on. Joshua Simon is a straight up weapon. So, but yeah, I mean, I think you're going to need a guy like Nick Harbor to continue to emerge in this game. So keep the defense honest at minimum, because Clemson does still have a really, really good defense. So, but yeah, I mean, you've seen guys come along lately, and they're going to need them Saturday.
Chris, I appreciate you taking my call, man. Go Cox.
Hey, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
All right, Bubba.
All right, later. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Yeah, hey, listen, people, I mean, you think about it. You think about the schedule this weekend. A&M Texas is the big one, but you could argue South Carolina Clemson is like the second biggest rivalry game in the SEC. And every fan base is going to say, no, it's our game. Our rivalry game is the biggest. But when you just talk about like implications and ranking and, what's on the line, I mean, yeah, I would probably say South Carolina Clemson's that second biggest one. So probably the second biggest one. Anyways, guys, 803-500-1485. That is 803-500-1485. Like I said, thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Over damn near 500 of you all tuned in right now live to the show. I cannot say thank you enough, man. These are a lot of fun. It is really crazy, by the way, and we'll more so, we'll save a lot of this, what I'm about to say, for next week. But just thinking about the fact this is the last week of the regular season. This is the last week of the regular season. It's just wild. Just wild, man. I've kept that in mind over the last really all throughout today, because we're recording our game previews, getting them out there. I'm like, man, this is the last time like we're doing this in this way. It's the last time we're getting 10 game previews done in a 3-day span or whatever. It's like, what I'm saying? It just, I don't know, man. It starts to hit you when you get this close to the end. So anyways, let's get back into your questions. Volcano says the Tennessee Vandy game's underrated. I do agree it's an underrated game. I do agree. I lean Vols in that game. But listen, man, Diego Pavia in Nashville. But I'm going Tennessee in the game. I am going Tennessee. I am. I am going Tennessee in that football game. I am going Tennessee. So let's see. Jimmy S. Should they have benched Quinn in the second half of that game Saturday? I don't think so. I mean, unless he's hurt to a point where he cannot play, he cannot go. I mean, and what's weird is he looked fine to me. I know that obviously he had the MRI, and they're calling it like a mild ankle sprain. I mean, Quinn's going to play Saturday, man. Quinn's going to play. And I thought he played fine. Listen, there was that one stupid turnover that turned into a touchdown, right? But, I mean, I thought otherwise he played pretty solid. I thought otherwise Quinn was pretty solid. So, but no, I don't think they should have benched him. I had no issues with them keeping him in there. So, no issues with it at all. Let's see. Yeah, Tennessee, Vandy. That'll be a fun one. Matt Beer, does any SEC coach lose their job this year? That's a great question. I don't think so. I don't think anybody gets fired. Because I don't think Kentucky's going to fire Mark Stoops. I just don't see it. I don't think Kentucky's firing Mark Stoops. Sam Pittman, I think, is going to be back. I mean, Brent Venables is good. I don't think he was going to be fired either way, but Brent Venables is good. Hugh Freeze is good. Even though some A&M fans have said they want Mike Elko fired after 1 year, which is insane. I mean, I think everybody's back. I do. I wonder when the last time that was that nobody got fired. But I think, too, guys, we've talked about it with revenue sharing coming up, and I think everybody in college football is kind of bracing for impact. How's that $22 million per school? How's that going to affect things? And I don't know if anybody's in a position right now. Any school is in a position where they're like, we have to fire our guy. Because even Mark Stoops at Kentucky, like, let's be honest. It's like, how much of a sense of urgency is there at Kentucky, right, to fire Mark Stoops? I'm seeing Army 3275 in the comments talking about Nick Saban, next head coach of Michigan. I'm not buying that. There's no way. Respectfully, there's no way I'm buying that. There's no way I'm buying that. Again, guys, 803-500, 1485. That's 803-500, 1485. In case you somehow missed it, we will be in College Station this weekend. Texas A&M, Texas, at Kyle Field. My first ever trip to Kyle Field. First ever trip to College Station in general. So flying in on Friday to Houston, and then we will make our way down there. We will make our way down there to see Stats on Friday afternoon and let the weekend begin, man. It's going to be a great time. We felt the Aggie love all season long. And so getting down there to hang out with some great Aggies and hopefully they let me in the city. I know I threw the horns, obviously, this past weekend, but, got a lot of love for the Aggies too, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a good time. Going to be hanging out with some of our buddies from Texags and getting after it. And, again, exploring what College Station has to offer. And I'll admit this too, guys. Like, I've known for weeks, by the way. I've known for essentially months that I was going to Texas A&M, Texas. I've known for a while. And I kind of knew coming into it that, the Texas-Kentucky weekend was going to be, the game's going to be awesome, but Austin is the star of the weekend. Like, the city is the star, right? This weekend, and it's no knock on College Station, but I feel like that's kind of flipped, where it's like College Station's going to be really cool. I'm stoked to see it. Maybe we find our way to Northgate, and I talked to my buddy Billy Lucci at Texags talking about, hey, we're gonna go do some stuff, have a good time, show you around, and I'm sure it'll be great. But the game is the star of this weekend, right? Like, there's no confusion there. I'll also say this: any Aggies out there that have suggestions, I would love them. Where to go, what to do. I know y'all have gotten tired of me complimenting Texas so much. I understand that, but listen, it's all love for the Aggies, man. It's all love for the Aggies. It's all love for Gig'em. It's going to be a great time. So I certainly don't want to pick a fight or make enemies on one side or the other of the rivalry or what have you. But, I'm going to show love, obviously, to the Texas folks who showed me so much love and made sure we had a great time. But, I'd love to know where to go. I would love to know where to go. Y'all let me know. Let's see. Parker Craven, do you agree with the sentiment that a 3-loss team shouldn't ever make the playoffs? Ever is a strong word. If you're saying shouldn't ever make the playoffs, then ever would assume, let's say 10-2 Georgia lost to Texas in the SEC title. I don't think you should be punished. I don't think you should be punished for losing the SEC championship. I think that's crazy. I think punishing the SEC championship loser, if they were to have 3 losses, punishing them by keeping them out of the playoff is flat out insane. So, no, I can't stand behind that a 3-loss team should never get in. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Dougie,
what's going on, man? You on the air?
Hey, man, you might remember me from Nashville, Tennessee. I know we all saw those doors locked, man.
Yeah. What's going on?
Dude, so I was just curious on some of your thoughts. Do you think it's more of it being the end of the season and they're gassed, or do you think it's more of the scheme being figured out, and now that the scheme's figured out, it's up to Jimmy's and Joe's, and Vandy just doesn't have Jimmy's and Joe's?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this the last few weeks. I think with Vandy, I just think the more and more tape that got out there with Tim Beck's offense, and again, it is an offense that Vandy does not have the Jimmys and Joes, but you're going to be one of 3 things: better than, lesser than, or different than. And Vanderbilt has been different than this year on offense. And so they've been able to use motions and get a defense's eyes going one way or the other and use some misdirection and just create confusion for defenses. But to that point, again, at some point, there's so much tape out there on you that people are able to figure it out. And I mean, I think even against LSU, it's not like there's no shame in losing, in Death Valley at night against LSU. But yeah, I mean, I do think that defenses have started to catch up with Vanderbilt's offense, and that's one of the biggest reasons. Like I'm leaning, obviously, Tennessee going in this game this weekend, because I think it's going to be really, really difficult for Vandy to consistently win their one-on-ones and win battles against that Vols front seven. Because I mean, that Vols front seven's for real, man. They're a problem. So, but I mean, dude, I give. And I got a lot of love for Vandy, for the folks. Nashville was incredible. The people were great. I had a great time. Clark Lee's done an amazing job. I think you could still argue he should be coach of the year for what he's done. But I think that's one of the reasons you've seen down the stretch. I just think defensive coordinators have kind of figured out that offensive attack. I think that's been the biggest difference.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. It hasn't been the same since that Alabama game, honestly. So really wish they would have picked up the Georgia State and Missouri wins early on while there was a better chance to get them. Mm-hmm. But, that it is what it is. But Vandy's going forward. How do you think recruiting is looking and everything? I see like a 4-star recruit and then different stuff happening right now.
I mean, I think winning helps, right? It's not the end-all, be-all when it comes to recruiting, because the reason that kids pick schools is an imperfect science. But I think when you're able to show, if you're Clark Lee, you're able to show proof of concept, I think that's a really big deal. I think you can sell that. You can sell the vision, right? I mean, you can and I think Clark Lee's been trying to do that for quite some time, but it's just really, really difficult when you're winning 2 or 3 games in a season and going winless in conference play. So, listen, I think Clark, I think all of us, we've got pretty realistic expectations when it comes to the doors. But, and even when I went on that trip, talking to Vandy folks, I mean, they made it very clear to me that, listen, all we're asking for is a bowl game every year. We're just trying to get to 6-6 or maybe 7-5 every year, and maybe once every 5 years, scratch out an 8-win season or something like that. So I don't think the expectations are unreasonable at Vanderbilt. I think you can create a program where you're getting to a bowl game every single year. You just got to find the right people, and you got to be different than at Vandy, because you're probably still never going to out-recruit some of the others that you play. But you got to be a master talent evaluator, a master talent developer. And I think if you can do that, and again, you implement a scheme where, you're not going to beat – it's funny enough, I was going to say Alabama, but you're not going to beat them at their own game. You got to be different. That's what Vandy did so well this year, especially offensively. And they also got the right quarterback who's a gamer. Love Diego Pavia. We all do, guys, a legend. But I think certainly this season helps in recruiting, and we'll see where Vandy is down the road, but you now have proof of concept if you're Clark Lee that Vanderbilt can be more than what it has been or what maybe people told you that it is, if that makes sense.
Hey, that makes sense. And my final question, how do you feel about the little slash and dash they tried with Diego and Nate? And does that make you feel comfortable with Nate taking over? That's like the first question, like Nate taking over for next year. And then what about that Alabama-Oklahoma game?
Yeah, that Bama-Oklahoma game was, that had to be the shocker of the weekend, right? That had to be the shocker of the weekend. Yeah, Bama's got issues. They've got issues. They're putting so much of it on Jalen Milroe, and if he doesn't have a good game, Bama's going to lose, and that's exactly what happened. So that was a shocker. We knew Oklahoma had defensive personnel, and coming off of the bye, I think they put together arguably their best performance of the year. So you got to give Brent Venables and company a lot of credit. To see Jackson Arnold run for 140 or whatever it was he did was just flat out crazy, honestly. But that's college football in 2024, man. It is so unbelievably hard to predict. It is. I kind of brace for impact when I drop power rankings because listen, but you can't please everybody, and there's so much of it that just doesn't make sense. Back to your point though, about Vandy. Yeah, I did like what they did offensively. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they more so do scheme-wise. And is Tim Beck going to be there next year? That to me is, that to me is my bigger question, my bigger concern. What are they doing scheme-wise? But listen, man, I like Clark Lee. I said it last year, even when they weren't good. I like Clark Lee, and I think they're well set up for the future. So, whether that's if Diego Pavia can fight the NCAA and somehow get another year, or if that's somebody else. I think with that system Tim Beck wants to run, I do feel confident that they can continue to have offensive success.
Hey, thank you again for having me on.
Dude, thanks so much for calling in, man. Good to hear from you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Love that. 803-500-1485. We'll go ahead and open the phone lines back up, man. Why not? Again, I keep saying it, but this is our opportunity to get it out there. Texas folks, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So many of you went out of your way to make sure I had a great time in Austin, and damn it, I had a great time in ATX. So thank you all so much. It was incredible, and I'm super excited now to get to College Station. It's funny, this past weekend was only the second time I had ever been to the Lone Star State, so this upcoming will be my third time ever. It's funny, I'm going one less day because Thanksgiving is Thursday, and so many people ask me, Chris, why didn't you just spend the whole week or whatever in the state of Texas? Like, why didn't you just stay in Texas? And I did want to come home and see my family for Thanksgiving. So, but I'm literally just repeating what I did. We're going to fly out of Atlanta again, fly into Houston on Friday, and link up with our dudes and go from there, man. Head down to C-Stat. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a very, very, very good time. Very good time. So let's see. Again, guys, 803-500-1485. The phone lines are open. 803-500-1485. Chase Warren, where to go in Clemson for a Carolina fan? First time behind enemy lines with no tailgate. Listen, I got some buddies you could meet up with. Dude, I don't know Clemson like that. I have no idea. I have no idea where to go. I got to be totally honest with you. Maybe they're downtown. It's very small, but there are places to go. So my guys over at Chinook, what's up? Will you be spitting some seeds on the plane? I always keep them on me. Yeah, I always keep them on me. So yeah, we'll probably have the seeds in hand. Little 2.5-hour flight. So it'll be a lot of fun, man. Like I said, I'm really excited, looking forward to it. College Station's going to be a blast. And just, it's kind of like, it's a surreal feeling that we're going to this game. It's game of the year vibes, right? It's game of the year vibes. Like the fact that I'm getting to go to this game is crazy. It's crazy. So it's absolutely crazy. Really excited. But this entire tour has been a blast, man. I've said it so many times. The tour, it's like I have to. The best way I can put it is this: I'm so present moment, but it's also such an out of body experience. Like I constantly have to pinch myself. I constantly do. Like I feel like I'm living a dream. I feel like I'm living a fairy tale life. I really do. I'm not just saying that. I really do. I feel like I'm living a fairy tale life. I mean, it's been awesome, man. And, speaking of, by the way, I wanted to point this out. I just think this is cool. Speaking of, and I want to say thank you again, and I'll do this again next week, but I want to share my gratitude with not just Longhorns, but all the great folks in the state of Texas. All the great folks in the state of Texas, because we were pulling analytics late last week for one of our business partners. And they wanted to see our demographics for YouTube in regards to viewership and cities that are consuming our content, essentially. Like, what are the top cities that are consuming our YouTube content specifically? So I pulled up these analytics, and wouldn't you know, I could give you a guess, and I don't know, maybe you'd guess it, maybe you wouldn't, but the number one city year to date, 2024, that has consumed our content, and this is on YouTube specifically, again, number one city, Dallas, Texas. What's even crazier is of the top 5 cities, 3 of those 5 cities are cities in the state of Texas. Dallas was at number 1. I think that Houston was number 3, and Austin was number 5. And then mixed in there as well, Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville, Tennessee. But 3 of the 5 cities that consume our content the most on YouTube, which obviously YouTube is a huge thing for us. We are speaking on there right now. 3 of the 5 cities of our top 5 cities are cities in the state of Texas. So, I mean, it's just, and what's so cool about that, man, like I said earlier, like especially this past weekend is like, and I could say the same about A&M. Like, Texas folks don't need me to hype them up. They don't need me to come visit and you know what I mean? Texas people could have very easily been like, who's this guy? Whatever. Like, we're Texas. We don't need SEC Unfiltered. We don't need to go out of our way to make sure SEC Unfiltered has a good time. Like, we're Texas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could have been a much different vibe. And so the way people embraced us and wrapped our arms around us and really went out of their way before the trip ever even started and were excited for us to come to Austin, man. Like, that is just, it feels surreal, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I will never stop saying thank you to all the folks in Austin. I will never stop saying thank you to all the great Longhorns, and I'm probably going to be saying this same exact thing next week after the College Station trip. So really cool when you think about it, the way the state of Texas as a whole has embraced us. It is really neat. It is really, really neat, man. It's really, really neat. And listen, it's not just Texas people that live in Dallas and Houston. I know it's a lot of LSU folks, a lot of A&M, a lot of Arkansas, Bama grads, Ole Miss. Like, it's a big mix, big melting pot, if you will. But yeah, that was, when I saw that, I was like, wow. That's because I didn't know that. I didn't know that before I looked late last week. So I thought that was really, really neat. Back to the comments. Double D, what's up? What's going on, man? What's going on? Justin Langford says everything is bigger in Texas. Yeah. Let's see. Matt is saying, no disrespect to Texas, pointing out the numbers game is favoring that statistic, including the population. Shocker, they consume the most. Well, I mean, to your point, there's more people that live there, but I mean, just from a percentage standpoint, man, like, yeah, I still was surprised by it. But you're right. Population's probably got a lot to do with it, but I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. So, guys, phone lines are back open. Let me make sure. Yes, phone lines are back open. 803-500-1485. Again, guys, make sure, by the way, you go support our friends over at Prize Picks, and you support SEC Unfiltered by signing up with our friends over at Prize Picks. The SEC Unfiltered Tour, it would not have been possible, and certainly this weekend in College Station, would not be possible without our friends over at Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com, promo code SECU to get that $50 bonus instantly when you play your first $5 more lineup. And remember this, guys, you can play college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, whatever sports you can think of, gaming. They got all kinds of stuff. It's not just college football. So, again, sign up today, promo code SECU. Let's get after it. Let's get after it with our friends over at Prize Picks. We drop these plays every single week. And by the way, I get the numbers weekly. I see you guys signing up. I see you guys using the promo code. Thank you for that. Continue to do so. Our friends at Prize Picks, man. Really, really good stuff. I can't say thank you enough to those guys. They've helped us realize a dream. And like I said, when the tour is over, there will be a lot of thank yous. I might just spend an entire, who knows, man, an entire Monday just to talk about that alone. But, yeah, can't say thank you enough to the guys at Prize Picks, man. Can't say thank you enough. Wouldn't be possible without them. Let's see. Crazy weekend of college football, man. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the SEC doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It does not make any sense. None of it makes sense. Kathleen says, did you get to see any Texas baseball stuff or scoop while in ATX? I did get to ride by Dish Falk. I did get to ride by the stadium. I did not get any scoop or anything like that, but I did get to ride by. And, again, I will 110% be back for baseball season. Admittedly, when this tour is over, I'm going to take a little bit, probably take a few weeks. You know, the one thing I'll say about the tour, guys, and this is definitely not woe is me, but this is just being realistic about it. The one thing I'll say about the tour that, you know, like I've missed out on a bit this season, I really have not gotten to watch games for the most part outside of the ones I've been going to. Like here and there, like obviously Saturday, I saw a good bit of the Auburn Texas A&M game, and but it's just really hard when you're tailgating, you're out and about, you're vlogging, you're making content, you're at a game, and it's like, so I haven't been able to really just sit down and watch games. So, like, for example, we got a comment here: is the tour going to Atlanta? Right now, the answer is no. The answer right now is I will not be in Atlanta for the SEC championship. Now, I say that very well acknowledging that, man, who knows? I might wake up on Sunday and be like, you know what? There's no way I'm missing the SEC title. I don't think I'm going, though. I don't think I'm going because, again, to the point, I want to be able to sit down and watch the game. And for content purposes, I also want to be able to go live and react with my guys after the game. I have not done those post-game reaction shows at all. I'd like to be able to do that, you know, because then that Sunday, just looking ahead, I've already thought about this. We'll have the post-game reaction for the SEC championship. Then that Sunday, we won't have our normal Sunday fun day, right? Because we'll have already reacted to the game. But we'll go live on Sunday to react to the college football playoff and like the rankings and stuff like that. So it's like I'd have to be coming back from Atlanta, get home early, get set up. And then I would have missed the opportunity to, again, really react to the SEC title. So I don't think I want to miss out on that opportunity, you know? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, there's a 0% chance that I go to a playoff game. I'm not going to say there's a 0% chance that I go to a semifinal or maybe even the college football, you know, the national championship, maybe. But it won't be part of the tour. Like, the tour was a regular season thing. The tour is ending. This is the final stop. The tour is ending this weekend. So, the tour is ending this weekend. JR says, save the money in case Georgia makes the Natty in Atlanta. Good point. Philip Huddy, what's going on? Is Florida going to be a threat next season, or are Ole Miss and LSU just not as good as we thought they were? Philip, I think two things can be true at once. I think LSU and Ole Miss, they're imperfect teams, but I think taking anything away from Florida is silly. I do. I think that Florida's really found something with DJ Lagway. I really do. And I will tell you this. As much as, is Billy Napier the right guy for the long term? Is he going to win an SEC title at Florida? Hell, is he going to make a playoff? I don't know that he is. I really don't know. I really don't know. But what I can tell you is this, the greatest compliment I could give Billy Napier, and I gave it to him weeks ago, is that team never stopped playing for Billy Napier. That team never quit. I thought I could make it the entire show without a glitch, but we apparently could not. Anyways, the best thing I could say about Florida, Billy Napier, I've said this for weeks, that team has been bought in all year. That team has never quit at any point. That team has never, not even for a moment, you never questioned whether that team was bought in or not. And so when you couple that, and then you start bringing in more Jimmies and Joes and more talent, and then you got a quarterback in DJ Lagway that you believe in, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. So, I think next year will probably tell us more. I think next year may tell us more, but this was a big year for Billy, and they remember November. They remember November, right? And, you got to take care of your business this weekend. If you lose to Florida State, it's not going to erase everything you've done, but it'll be just such a nasty taste in the mouth. And I think Florida's going to beat Florida State. I really do. Florida State stinks. Florida State flat out stinks. So, you go beat Florida State, man. You finish out the season the way you have. A great year. A great year. A great year for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. So, again, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know that I have the answer right now. That is Billy Napier, again, is he the coach to get them to the SEC title or a national title? But it's good to see some life from this Gators program, man. It really is. It's good to see some life. But two things can be true at once. Florida has come on strong, and you give a lot of credit to, Billy Napier and staff and everybody in that building. But, I think LSU and Ole Miss also. But, again, Florida had to expose them, and they did. And I did not expect it at all against Ole Miss. I really thought, guys, Ole Miss, you got that big win over Georgia. You felt like you kind of salvaged your season, right? Salvaged your season a few weeks back. And, man, the level of disappointment in Oxford. The level of disappointment in Oxford. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Guys, back to the tour aspect really quickly. I'm just sitting here thinking out loud. You think back over the last few weeks. This is going to be a great measurement this weekend of the SEC Unfiltered Tour kind of hex, if you will. Because on one hand, heck, I've been seeing home teams on home teams on home teams on home teams win games, right? So you look at it, man, A&M's in a good spot. On the flip side, Texas has kind of shown they're sort of immune to the SEC Unfiltered Tour hexes, if you will, right? They won in Nashville when I was there. Over this past weekend, they were the favorite, still won the game. You could argue that was different from what we've normally seen. So I don't know, man. I'll just tell you this. I'll tell you this. This game, this Lone Star Showdown is going to be a classic. Why, you ask? 13 long years in the making. I just don't see a scenario that it's not. I don't see. It feels like the college football script that is written for 2024, this game has to be a classic. This game has to be one that is going to come down to the wire. There's going to be a thrilling finish involved. There's going to be high dramatics from start to finish. Of course, it's going to be an electric atmosphere. But this Lone Star Showdown, it wouldn't make sense for 13 years in the making, again, this game to be anything other than a classic. It's going to be a classic. It is. No matter who you think's going to win, I think this is going to be a classic. It is going to be a close game no matter what. And I, for one, cannot wait to take it in person. I cannot wait to experience College Station, experience Kyle Field, and experience this rivalry. I mean, it is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, man. Just from the college football fan perspective, it is going to be so awesome. Let's see. Again, 803-500-1485, guys. If you do want to call in, we'll try to squeeze one or two more in here. Otherwise, we'll just continue to take your comments. We'll take your comments. Let's see. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's been it's a weird vibe. It's been a disappointing year for a lot of teams in the SEC. It's just, dude, I'm telling you, what we've seen is just the parity in college football, man. The transfer portal, there really aren't elites anymore, right? Because, rosters aren't able, or teams aren't able to stockpile all the talent, and so more good players are going to other good places, and the middle of the pack. SEC football has essentially turned into SEC baseball. It has. It's turned into SEC baseball, where it's just everybody beats up on everybody. And the 8th or 9th best team in the conference would go win another conference. Like, it is essentially turned into SEC baseball. This is for those of you that don't watch college baseball. First off, shame on you. But second of all, this is what we experience. This is what we experience every year. You can go 500 in league play, and you're one of the best teams in the country. Like, it happens. So, if you're not a baseball person, again, number one, shame on you. But number two, this is what we experience every season. It's just, we're not used to this level of parity in college football. We're just not. We're not used to this level of parity in SEC football. And we're used to a lot of parity. Not this level of parity. We're not. We're not used to this. This is foreign to all of us. So, Mr. Bucknuts, what's going on? Ohio State's in the building. The shoe is a place I'm going to get one day, by the way. Mr. Bucknuts. Maybe kickoff for next season. Texas goes to Ohio State. I might have to make the trip. That's a bucket list stadium for me. That's a bucket list stadium. Who do you think makes playoffs in the SEC? Dude, it is who makes the playoffs in the SEC right now is the question. Right now is the question. Who makes it? I would go with Georgia, Texas. I'll go with Tennessee. And I think there's got to be one more, man. I think there's got to be one more. But who would it be? You got those three, but who would it be? Is it Alabama? Is it Ole Miss? Is it LSU? Is it South Carolina? And I think South Carolina's got a really good argument. Like, as long as you beat Clemson, you got a really good. Is it A&M? Forgive me. Is it A&M? That's why I'm saying it's like, you can answer that question to a degree right now, but if this season has taught us anything, guys, there's going to be more chaos. You just got to, listen, you just got to pray it's not your team this weekend, because there's going to be upsets. There are. There absolutely are. I mean, it's 2024 in the SEC, man. There's going to be upsets. Flat out. There's going to be so many upsets. So I don't know. I don't know. It's those three I mentioned at the top I feel good about. The fourth, probably most deserving right now, is South Carolina. For the way they've played over the last month plus, most deserving is South Carolina. Will they get in? Well, you got to beat Clemson first. And you got to probably hope some things break your way. Because it's like, I know head-to-head is valuable. Head-to-head's valuable. We have to count head-to-head. But if we're talking about 12 best teams right now, you can't convince me South Carolina's not one of the 12 best. You just can't do it. Not with, and again, they got to go beat Clemson. So I think if you're a South Carolina fan, you really have got to, you can feel good about it right now, but you got to make sure you beat Clemson. You got to beat Clemson. Of course, you got to beat Clemson. Then if you finish the job, beat Clemson, and you're 9-3, lobby away. Because I think South Carolina, they'll probably at that point have as good an argument as anybody. But guys, we got to see what other chips fall. Does Tennessee lose to Vandy? Does Oklahoma beat LSU? Does God forbid Mississippi State beat Ole Miss? It just goes on. You know, what happens in A&M, Texas? So it's going to be wacky. It's going to be wild. Going to be a lot of fun. And, with the way this season's gone, man, you would expect nothing different. You'd expect nothing different from the way this season's going. Guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Again, thank you all so much. Appreciate our friends over at Prize Picks for supporting this segment. And thank you all for your engagement, your interaction, for tuning in. Those that called in, those that commented, cannot say thank you enough. And again, over 700 right now tuned in live. Really, really good stuff. The last Monday Power Hour. Last Monday call-in show of the regular season. What a time. I love doing these. I love doing these because it's so informal. We get to kind of shoot the shit and have some fun. So, guys, again, thank you all so much. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Happy early Thanksgiving to each and every single one of you as well. Continue to tune into the content bleeding out the eyeballs all week long right here on SEC Unfiltered. Till next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you all on the other side.